Oh, the darkness of it is the police paid for my mother's funeral, open casket. I,
Huh?
yep, I saw my mother's face smashed in.
If you were trying to learn something from everybody, you could actually learn something from every single person that you met.
Let some jewels in the skull and he can sell if he chose.
Alright, man. Like y'all already know, got my guy here, Mark Scott. I'm not with the long introductions. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Tell him who you are.
I'm Mark Scott. Everybody call me Scotty. From Harlem, out here doing my thing. I'm into photography, fashion, real life shit. Just out here, man. Just trying to make it.
Do you have any social media? Because I'm
Yeah.
sure you're gonna say some things.
Underscore Scotty. That's it. Just SEOTTY underscore SEOTTY underscore. That's it. Scotty. Mark Scott. Just find me on Instagram, TikTok. That's how you find me.
Cool. So one day we was having a conversation, and you started telling me like a bunch of interesting stories. Like I don't even know, like far as the trauma that you actually went through. I was surprised because you're a fairly upbeat guy. When I met you, you always laughing and making jokes, and for you to go through so much trauma, I found it amazing, amazing how much joy you had inside of you, and I couldn't I think that a lot of people may benefit from your story. So if you could, I mean, if it's not too hard on you.
Definitely not hard. I want everybody to learn from my story and to just take it and see what it is and just go forward with your life. Don't stay stuck in any position in life. Just keep going forward. So first off, I'm from Harlem, from the east side. I'm from 110th and Lexington Ave.
Is that Spanish Harlem?
Spanish Harlem. My grandmother, she was a politician for Puerto Rican. She came,
For who?
Puerto Ricans. I'm half Puerto Rican, half black.
Okay.
My grandmother came to the city probably in the 40s or the
Wow.
50s.
Wow.
So she was well off in Puerto Rico, though.
What's your grandmother's name?
Ramona Colon, Ramona Andino Colon. She was well off. Her parents were politicians and in the military in Puerto Rico. So they moved to the States in about the 50s or 40s, and my grandmother went to Catholic schools. She did her thing, went to college and all that. So when she graduated, she decided that she wanted to start not-for-profit and start after-school programs for black people, Spanish people, all on the east side of Harlem. This is the 90s of Harlem. This is when crack was going on. This is the 80s and 90s. I was born in 91. She was there way before me. This is 85 through 92, really, when she started her organization, Borican Bateras. That's a baton twirling and after-school and summer program and food program for people from Jefferson Projects, Clinton Projects, Taft Projects, everybody on the east side of Harlem. She would make sure they have food through the year. She would make sure the kids had somewhere to go between from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. She would make sure their kids had somewhere to go to do their homework. So that's what I really always learned from. She did that for the longest. Charles Rangel. I don't know if you know who Charles Rangel is.
Yeah, of course I know Charlie Rangel, man.
Yeah, he's a wild one. He's always been around my family and everything. So my grandmother did a lot for Puerto Ricans on the east side.
Did you grow up with
Yeah.
You grew up with your grandmother?
Yeah, I grew up with my grandmother. When I was about 5 years old, my mom's passed away, unfortunately.
Can you? But I don't want you to like speed through that part because can we go to 5 days after you were born? Let's start there.
5 days after I was born, December 27th, 1991. My name is Mark Scott. I'm a junior. My father's name is Mark Steven Scott. He was out there in Harlem in the streets in between 100th Street and 110th and Lexington Ave and First Ave doing what he did between the 80s and the 90s. And he got caught up out there. He got murdered 5 days after I was born. He was only 26 years old.
What do you mean by doing what he like? What do you mean by that?
He was moving heroin, crack, weed was diet to him. That was nothing. My father, even as a teenager, he was getting paid from people on Riverside. He didn't like it. He had demons inside of him from that age, but he was getting paid to kill people from a 15-year-old to a 22-year-old for about $2,000 in the 80s. That's no money to us nowadays. Just to kill people for who's trapping on somebody else's block, who's hustling on somebody else's block. Any little thing my father would do it. People tell me my father was a better killer than drug dealer. So
this is how you know these stories based on what people have told you.
Yes, sir. Definitely. His best friend is still alive. Yes, definitely.
So 5 days after you were born, your father was murdered. Let's keep it going from there.
All right, boom. So I'm a kid, 4 years old. My aunt, that's like my mom to this day, she owns a beautiful home in Georgia. Her and her husband is living with me and my mom, and my dad is gone already. Her and her husband is living with me and my mom in Harlem. She's teaching in Tarrytown, New York, upstate New York. He's working UPS, but he's doing his thing on the side, if you know what I mean by doing his thing. It's the 90s. It's 90 through 94.
I mean, I may know what you mean, but just for clarity, like...
Niggas is moving at work. Niggas is trapping hard. Like, niggas is $100,000 a week.
This is your uncle?
My uncle. West Indian dude. Didn't play no games.
Your uncle is West Indian?
Yep.
So you're West Indian and Puerto Rican?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. My uncle's out here trapping hard. And in Brooklyn, too. At the same time, we in Brooklyn right now. He's in Brooklyn. He's trapping hard. Boom, boom. So, 96, my Uncle Anton, he's about, I say, 28 years old. And I say people that grew up in the 90s and the 80s, 28 is way different than what we grown up in 2000 and 2010 and 2020. They were way more mature, way more secure, and they were focused. So, but he got caught up in the shit. He was working FedEx, UPS, but he was also hustling. He got murdered in 96. He lived with me and my mom's. He got murdered.
In 1996?
Yep, 1996, November 1996. So they bring that to me. I'm in pre-K. I'm 4 or 5. I'm a December baby, so I'm always the late baby. December 22nd. So I'm 4 or 5 years old.
What was the circumstances behind his murder?
Oh, he got shot in the face like 6 times in Brooklyn. Wow. They say Haitian Jack, I don't know, that shit, in the 90s, Brooklyn, he was West Indian. He was involved in some wild shit out there. I was a baby, so I didn't really know. But we had a nice crib in Harlem. I didn't live in the projects growing from 0 to 6 years old. I didn't live in the projects. So my mom's brought him and my aunt, Auntie Gab, in. She was master's degree. Auntie Gab, she's married to Uncle Anton, the one dealing with Haitian Jack and everybody, the street shit. She got her master's degrees in Mount St. Mary's in New Rochelle, doing her thing. So he passes away in 96. So April 24th, 1997, my brother is on a bike. It's a nice day. Weird for April. It was like 66 degrees. He comes up and say, yo, either the cops threw this lady off the roof or somebody murdered her or she jumped off.
Threw this lady off the roof? What do you mean?
My mother was a police officer since 89. There's a note saying...
So your mother was a cop, like blue and white?
Yep, blue and white. Queens and Brooklyn. She ain't working Harlem.
Wow.
So I go to school one day. I come home 2 p.m. We watching Sports Center, everything for 6 hours. It's 6 p.m. Where my mother at? Come to find out, my mother was a cop. Check every New York Times, New York Journal, April 24th, 1997. The cops threw my mother off the roof and tried to say she committed suicide.
What?
Off my grandmother's roof. The same building. My grandmother lived on the 16th floor. They tried to say my mother jumped off the 18th floor. My mother was kind of well off. We didn't live in the projects. I was in a good school. Something happened that still to this day we can't discover or figure out because this is New York City. And that underworld of the police, yeah.
How old were you when this happened?
5 years old.
You were 5 years old. Mm-hmm. So
my brother was on a bike. He said, yo, either the cops threw this lady off the building and murdered her. She might have jumped, but when we found out that was my mother, ain't nobody jumping off their mother's building. And my mother wasn't depressed or in none of that type of stuff.
Was that also your brother's mother?
Yep.
The same? Wow.
Hector Camacho, if you know about boxing in the 90s, Puerto Rican superstar Hector Camacho.
Hector Camacho. Yeah, I know.
Pull up to my grandmother's crib, knocking on the door, I open the door. He's like, yo, where's Shirley at? I'm like, my mother literally just passed away yesterday. Nigga like, what? Nigga had black glasses on. He's like, what? My grandmother almost had a heart attack when she saw Hector Camacho. She had cardiac arrest the same day my mom passed away. Everybody was in that shit. This shit was wild. Ambulance, everybody. Nobody's gonna, if you're gonna kill yourself, you're not gonna jump off your mother's building. And my mother didn't have any silver jewelry, only gold jewelry to this day. So, and my friend Jacob told me that he saw 2 people up there. In his articles to this day, you can go on Google Shirley Cologne, April 24th, 1997, and see what was going on in Harlem and the Bronx with the police in those days.
I don't understand why you said she didn't have any silver jewelry. Why did you?
Oh, okay. My mother, handcuffs are silver. They try to say my mom jumped off straight 90-degree angle straight down. My mother didn't have any silver jewelry ever. Only gold jewelry and diamonds, period. Literally. So when they say silver, she jumped off with 2 silver handcuffs. When 2 15-year-olds were murdered in Taft Projects 3 blocks away. And if you look up articles in that 97, the cops were running wild. So, murdering children, murdering mothers. You don't jump off your mother's roof. And you know your kids go to that same apartment every day. This is wild what was going on in New York then.
So, whatever came with the investigation?
Oh, the darkness of it is the police paid for my mother's funeral, open casket.
Huh?
I saw my mother's face smashed in from the 18th floor, all of that shit. I said, like, as a kid, I saw all that shit. I said, these niggas is cold. Whatever she did, whatever was going on is cold, bro. I saw them open casket. The police, NYPD paid for it. It's kind of, to be talking about it, even in this day, I don't really know the truth about what happened to my mother. I'm strong, so we're gonna keep going. But yeah, that shit was open casket, Harlem, 1997.